Welcome, everyone. Thanks to everybody for joining us this morning. Those of you who might have been on earlier calls, I'm not sure that you're going to hear a lot new here, but I'm delighted with whoever wants to be here and wants to hear what we're doing and ask questions. So a lot of things are going to be different this fall. We are in a very unique world that none of us have ever seen before. We're doing business differently on the research side. We're doing business differently in terms of the education. There's a lot of adaptation needed. There's a lot of change going on. And new guidance on this is coming out almost daily. And some of that guidance is necessarily very complex. So I know that there's a lot coming at you. Put these changes here at the university on top of the changes that many of you are experiencing in your family life, with children or elderly parents, or trying to figure out how you and your spouse both work at home. There's just a lot of anxiety out there, and I understand that. And that makes people sometimes respond to this change with more emotion. And, to a certain extent, we're just throwing a lot at you. It's a hard time, and I want to acknowledge that. We did want to create this opportunity as a chance for you to ask questions, to get answers to things that you might feel we haven't yet seen an answer to on all of the stuff that's going on the Smart Restart website. As you know, things are changing. We keep learning more about this virus, more about the most effective ways to deal with things as every week goes by. So we are adapting to that, and I will tell you things will, to a certain extent, continue to change. We don't know everything we want to know. We don't have all the answers to all the questions, but we're working as hard to stay up with what we know and what people are experiencing at other universities as possible. There's lots of information on the Smart Restart website. I hope you've looked at that. It's updated regularly. Look through it to find the type of information that you need. And we're holding a number of these town hall meetings. This is the run of show for today. I'm going to make some brief opening remarks. I'll be followed by the provost, who's going to talk about instruction and classroom issues. He'll be followed by Vice Chancellor Steve Ackerman, who's going to talk about research and research opening. They'll be followed by Vice Chancellor Lauren Heller and Al Fish, head of our facilities and management, who are going to talk about administration, HR, and facilities issues. Laurie Reeser, Vice Chancellor Laurie Reeser, will then talk about student life. And Jake Baggett, head of the University Health Service, is going to talk about public health efforts. And Norman Drinkwater, who's leading our testing, is going to talk about our testing plans. Everybody is supposed to be very brief because we want to leave as much time as possible for Q&A. So let me just say a little bit here before turning it over to the provost. We are tasked with carrying out our mission here at the university, and we're doing it in the midst of an unprecedented crisis and going to be doing it in a very different way than in the past. Our commitment is to be as open as we can with you about this community as we navigate this challenge, what we're thinking, what we're doing, why we're doing it, how we're modifying operations, and how we both need to work together, and we need your help to make any of this happen. We have had, however, to move very quickly over the summer as we have shut down in March and within a week, and then over a very short period of time, tried to completely revamp how we do business here in order to reopen this campus in early September. In the past 3 months, we've developed plans that involve changes in virtually every aspect of our business. And as we've developed those plans, we have tried to communicate. I know there's a lot of information getting pushed out fast, and it's one reason we're trying to communicate through these town halls. On the research front, it's imperative that we get our research operating and keep it operating. These are the careers of our faculty and staff. It's the work that our graduate students have to do to finish their studies and to move on. And I'm very pleased that we have almost all of the labs that want to reopen are reopened at this point, and Steve Ackerman will talk more about that. Of course, they're operating differently than they were in the past. They're much more de-densified, staggered hours, not that many people coming in together at the same time. And the same way, we think it's quite important that we have some on-campus teaching going on as well. There's quite a bit of research that looks at the interactions that happen on video conversations versus the interactions that happen face-to-face, and they are different. The face-to-face ones are much more spontaneous. In some ways, they're much more intimate. It is deeply important for our students, where there are small classes, that we can safely hold to engage in that type of face-to-face discussion with faculty and with each other. Now, of necessity, some classes can't meet that way. In fact, the majority of classes, as the provost will tell you, are meeting virtually. Our larger classes are all virtual. But some types of learning are just better in a face-to-face interaction. So we're trying to offer as many of the smaller classes as possible, albeit physically distanced, masked, all health protocols in place. As you know as well, a lot of student life happens outside the classroom. A lot of it's just butting up against people who are different, being part of student organizations that interest you in things you've never thought about before, holding those late night conversations in the dorms. Now, student organizations are going to be different. There are not going to be big gatherings of students. There's not going to be large events on campus this fall. Nonetheless, being on campus does mean there will be interactions among students in the dorms, in their places of residence off campus, and in classrooms. And it lets people meet people from different countries and from different cultures, lets them have some of those intense late night discussions that are a very important part of exploring who you are and where you're going as you're in this phase of your life in college. Finally, I would note, whether we have campus open or closed for students, we're going to have the majority of our students here in Madison. Our graduate students live here, and outside of the students in the dorms, which are most freshmen, the great majority of our other students are going to be here taking up their housing contracts and living off campus. In that sense, there's a real advantage to having some campus activities going on. It gives students focus. It gives them some things to schedule around. It means that we are going to be providing regular testing and contact tracing services to those students, which we wouldn't if we weren't open. And it means that there are, that we're going to be messaging them daily about health protocols and about wearing those masks and about not gathering in large parties. And I think we're going to get a lot better behavior because we are partially open and because we are in regular contact with our students through that, than if they were simply out there in the community otherwise. Here's what the fall is going to look like, all right? Widely available COVID testing and targeted testing for some groups. Norman is going to talk more about that in a little bit. Universal mask wearing in all indoor spaces and wherever physical distancing is not possible. Physical distancing in classrooms, in offices, in hallways, wherever possible. Measures to reduce campus density, staggered hours. Some people teleworking while others are in the offices, depending on what the tasks are that need to be performed. Special cleaning efforts to make sure that we are keeping spaces as clean as possible. A strong marketing effort aimed at communicating health protocols to faculty, staff, and students. We will be going online after Thanksgiving. We're not going to send everyone out around the country and then bring them back. So our last 2 weeks of class will definitely be online, though I suspect there'll be research labs and some other work that will remain open after that point in time. And we will be keeping a public dashboard of our COVID case information that we will be publishing daily for the community. Lots and lots of people have worked on this. It's a huge team to which I owe thanks to getting us to this point, and I do want to thank them and appreciate all of their work. Finally, let me just say that nothing is certain about this fall. We have a testing regime in place that allows us to monitor the rates of infection among different groups on campus. If infections appear to be growing in one group, we have the ability then to try to shut that down, to try to get that under control. But we are going to be living this day to day to see what works and what doesn't. As many of you are aware, over this past week, some of our peer schools have started and stopped. UNC is one of them. The University of Notre Dame is one of them. We have some different protocols in place than those schools did. Neither Notre Dame nor UNC had any broad testing plans. They were only testing asymptomatic individuals, and we're doing something much broader than that. There are other ways in which our protocols differ, but we are going to be watching and watching carefully. That said, we have a strong set of protocols in place. We've done a lot of planning. We're going to be messaging on the importance of these to everybody on campus. Given the number of students already in Madison, we're going to run this hybrid model of in-person and virtual learning, and I hope that we're going to run it successfully.